Hi, this is Nat from Magic of Views. What's on the bench today is Oris Big Crown Pointer Date. This watch is non-running and it has been sitting down in a drawer for more than 7 years. The watch has been given to the owner by his sister. He had it serviced and one fine day it just stopped working. This watch holds a lot of value to him because every time he looked at this watch, he thinks of his sister. He wanted me to fix the watch so he can pass it down to his son. With this kind of story, how can I say no? After checking all the functions, it seems like everything working fine. But what caused this watch to stop running? Let's have a look. I align all the hands, for later on I will remove them. I love this dial. Let's have a closer look. Don't you think the dial looks stunning? Some scratches on the crystal, that means I have to do something about it. Before I open the back case, I will remove the bracelet. This kind of spring bar is very easy to remove, just push it in and be careful at this stage because it can fly and you don't want to lose any parts. This one is a bit difficult to remove. Oh, look at that. After removing the spring bar, I can take out the bracelet and the end link. I always brush the back case to remove all the dust and particle. And here is my favorite tool to open the back case. Because this is strong and steady, I can open any kind of back case without scratches. Alright, we're getting there. Once again, just give it a little clean to make sure no dust and particle will fall into the movement. Let me get rid of this particle. Alright, now clean bench, I can continue. The movement still looks nice and clean, but don't be fooled, something must be wrong, otherwise it wouldn't stop working. I am removing the oscillating weight or the rotor. This thing winds your watch up, that's how you get your watch running. I am removing the casing clamps. This thing keeps your movement stationary. Now I am removing the crown and the winding stem. Now everything should come out nice and easy. Obviously the gasket is worn out, so I need to replace this. Next I am removing the bezel so I can remove the crystal. And this tool will help me get the job done. This tool got 4 blades and the blades will wedge themselves in between the gaps so the gap get widened. Now you can see the gap, so it's easier for me now to take it out with this dull blade. Of course with protection as always. And oh, there I noticed some cracks on the crystal. So I think I need to replace the crystal. I will take it out now and there it is. It's broken. Now I'm going to remove hands. And protection is always needed to protect the dial. Even if the tool I'm going to use is not touching the dial, but just in case. For the small second hands, I need to pry it up because the tools is too big. Now I will remove the dial, but I have to release the dial feed lock. And now the dial comes loose and I can take it out. For those who are wondering how the pointer date works, and this is the wheel for the pointer date hand. Now I am going to remove the cover plate. And here is the cover plate for the calendar jumper spring. And here is the cover plate for the motion work. And I am using vertical to pick up the calendar intermediate wheel. And that's the calendar driving wheel and the cover plate, the yoke and the yoke spring. I am removing the day corrector. This is the wheel that quick changed the day, but it's not there in this movement. Oh, and this setting wheel has been placed upside down. This bevel edge should be upwards. This is the hour wheel, the minute wheel, the cannon pinion. Excuse me for the noise behind, it is raining so hard here. Now I am removing the balance. And I have to be very careful because this is very delicate. Oh, and I noticed something. The regulator has been advanced to the maximum, so I guess probably it was running slow before. I have to say very slow. And I have to say this, if the watch is running very slow, there must be something wrong with the watch. So adjusting the regulator without fixing the problem will do no good. I mean, in this case, the problem might not be addressed and rectified before adjusting. Oh, look at that. Dirt and grease from the old oil. I am letting down all the power inside the barrel, so it will be safe to remove the pallet fork. What I am doing here is holding down the click and manipulate the crown, while the mainspring is unwind itself. Once all the power has been released, so it is safe to remove the pallet fork, and this is the pallet bridge. And here is the pallet fork. Now I am removing the crown wheel. Here is the click, and I am removing the click spring. Be careful, this thing can fly. Next I am going to remove the ratchet wheel. Oops, what is that? I think it's the cover up with grease and oil. And here is the greasy ratchet wheel. Next I am going to remove the barrel, which I have to first remove the barrel bridge held by 3 screws. Oh, the bridge is quite stiff and tough. Look at that, lots of dry oil in this part. Here is the hacking lever, and this is the barrel and the mainspring. The end check seems okay. Now comes to the train of wheel. It's hardly moved. No, the second wheel never want to move, but the other wheel still moving okay. A little bit stuck, but still moving. But this one barely moved at all. Let's have a look underneath the bridge. Ah, look at that. Here is the 4th wheel, the escape wheel, the 3rd wheel. That's the 2nd wheel, and it's difficult to remove. Let's have a closer look together. It looks like rust. Wait a second. Oh, I know what happened now. So this is the indirect second pinion, suppressed by this leaf spring, which means the leaf spring keeps the indirect second pinion in place. In this case, the leaf spring has been put upside down, and when the bridge is placed, it presses against the leaf spring too much that the second pinion hardly moved. And that results in watch running slow. And when the watch is running slow, the easiest way is to adjust the regulator, which is not a good practice. Regulating should be the last thing to be done after all the problems are fixed. In this case, advanced regulator only forces the watch to run in beat when it didn't want to move at all. And if you let me guess, there will be some corrosion in the watch somewhere. Okay, now I almost finished with the disassembly and I am taking off the cap jewel from the balance. As you can see, the oil on the cap jewel is very dry. Another cap jewel from the dial side. This even worse. It seems like there is no lubrication at all. Now let's see the mainspring inside the barrel. I am removing the barrel upper. And now I can remove the mainspring. So that's all the disassembly. And these are all the parts lining getting ready for cleaning. As usual, let's check all the jewels. This is the dirty one. There it is. Here is the corrosion I was talking about. As you can see, the pivot got eaten away because it didn't want to move but forced to move. The balance staff still in good condition. Now comes to the cleaning process. The first time I will wash by hand. So for the first rinse, I am brushing away all the materials and dry oil and grease. And this is how I clean the balance because you cannot brush it. Next, I will pick all the jewel holes with pegwood. This process is to clean all the jewel holes by using pegwood to pick all the dust and particle inside. After cleaning, let's see this part again. You see how much material got eaten away? Let's have a closer look, and this is the new one, so you can see the pivot is so much different. All the parts are now ready to be put in the cleaning machine for 3 rinses cycle. The case and the bracelet shall be cleaned in the ultrasonic cleaning machine. I am removing the crown gaskets and that is torn apart. Definitely is gonna need replacement. B-dip cleaning solution, I use it for cleaning the balance and the pallet fork. B-dip is a strong cleaning solution, but it will not dissolve shellac, which is suitable for cleaning the balance and the pallet fork. These are all clean parts and they are spotlessly clean. Before reassemble, let's check all the jewel holes. With this, I can guarantee it makes a lot of difference. Comes to lubrication process, I lubricate the reversing wheels with V105 and the bearing with V106. These two lubricants are dipping lubricant, so I just need to dip the parts in and wait for 10 to 15 seconds. After that, let it dry itself. Here is my favorite treatment. I treat the cap jewel, the pallet fork, and the escape wheel with epilame. Epilame will help keeping the lubricant where it needed to be. Here I am using IPA, the 99% alcohol, to clean the excessive lubricant. From this moment on, I will be dealing with clean parts, so I need fresh finger cuts. This is Mobius 9010. I will put it on the cap jewel, keep it center. Now I'm gonna put this on the chaton and the whole unit will be placed in its place. I am checking if the lubricant I put stay in the center, and yes it is. And I do the same thing on the capsule of the balance. This regulator, I will correct it now. Now I'm checking if the balance working okay, and it should be good with the level of the spring vertically and horizontally. I am assembling the automatic module. Start with the ratchet wheel driving wheels, reversing wheels, and reduction wheel. Everything is held together with the undercover. And other pivot is lubricated with HP 1300. On the barrel, I put Mobius grease 8212, and altogether it needs 6 spots. So from this angle, you will see all the braking grease on the 6 spots. I am lubricating this mainspring with Mobius 8200. And I am going to use mainspring wider to help me with this job. This tool really helps saving my time and eliminate errors. I am transferring mainspring into the barrel. And I am going to install the barrel arbor. And the clicking noise tells me the arbor is in place. Next, I am going to close the lid and give a little bit of lubrication. And this tool helps making sure the force applies evenly. And I am using HP 1300 and the same HP 1300 on the other side. Let's start the assembly. First with the second wheel, and this is the fresh new one with perfect pivot. Followed by the escape wheel and indirect second pinion, and I just put Mobius 9010. And this is the leaf spring to suppress the indirect second pinion to stay stationary. And this is how I install it. Here is the third wheel. Next will be the fourth wheel, and I am putting Mobius 9010. Once done, I can fit the train wheel bridge. This is a bit difficult, so it needs a little adjustment. And when every wheel spins freely, that means I put it correctly. And to me, this is fascinating. Now I can screw down and give a little bit of lubrication with Mobius 9010 and HP 1300. And the same lubrication on the dial side. And you will see this makes so much difference. Look at how them spinning freely. So let's continue with the assembly. Here is the hacking lever, the lever that will stop your movement when you are in setting time position. Next is the barrel. And once everything done, I can put the barrel bridge. And this is held by 3 screws. So I'm installing the click spring and the click, and here is the Mobius 9504. The clicks helps restrain the crown wheel from moving the opposite direction. Here is HP 1300 for the crown wheel, and here is the crown wheel held by reverse threaded screw, which means you tighten it as if you were loosening it. Here is the HP 1300, and this is the ratchet wheel. Ratchet wheel is the wheel that winds up the mainspring. Next, I will work on the keyless work. Start with the sliding pinion and the winding pinion. And here is the winding pinion and the sliding pinion. Make sure the part from hacking lever lies in the groove of the sliding pinion. For better control, now I put the winding stem and the crown. And now I'll put the Mobius 9504. For the stud and hole is HP 1300. This is the operating lever, the setting lever and the yoke, and the grease 9504. And setting lever spring. So I screw down just a little bit and engage all the spring first, and I tighten the screw up. Before moving on to the next bit, I am testing the operation, and I can see all the wheels spin. That's a big relief. Next, I'm gonna install the pallet fork. A little bit of adjustment to make sure the pivot gets in the hole. To lubricate the pallet fork, I put 9415 on the tip of the pallet fork, and I manipulate the pallet fork to make sure every tooth of the escape wheel got the lubrication. And this process repeats 4 times. Next, I will install the balance wheel, and this is the moment of truth. And if I get everything right, I should see the balance moving as soon as I drop the balance cock down. Oh yes, what a relief! Lock this with one screw, and before I regulate the watch, I shall see if everything is alright. So far so good. So I hope I am on the right track. And next is I will regulate the movement. Let's hear the results before seeing one. The result is excellent, so let's continue. Next, I will install the cannon pinion. And I am putting Mobius 9504. And what I am doing here is to disperse the grease. Once done, I can install the cannon pinion. And this is the minute wheel. I am putting HP 1300 before the hour wheel. HP 1300 for the setting wheel, and make sure I am getting the right side up, the one with the bell edge. I am putting HP 1300, and this is corrector wheel. A touch of HP 1300, and that is the day corrector. HP 1300 before I fit the screw. And now finish this off with cover plate. Comes to calendar work, and this is HP 1300 for the yoke. Next, I put the Mobius grease 9504 for the yoke spring. Now I can engage the spring. Next, I can put the calendar driving wheel, this will push the calendar so it changes accordingly. And I am fitting calendar intermediate wheel. Now I can fit the cover plate. Now I am fitting the calendar jumper spring. This spring helps locking the calendar ring in place. I am putting Mobius grease 9504. I'm putting HP 1300 before calendar wheel. Now I can engage the spring. I am checking the operation before heading to the next step. And now I am installing the automatic module fit by 2 screws. Back to the dial side, this is dial washer and the dial support ring. Next I am installing the dial and lock the dial feet. Next is time to install the hands. Start with the pointer date. For this particular size of hand, I'm using hand press tool from Horotech. And once fit, I always check for the alignment. And of course, give it a clean. Next is the hour hand. I just need to give it a clean before installation, because this one is a bit dirty. After using pegwood to scrub off the dirt, then I'm using the leather buff to give it a shine. Then comes to installation. For me, installation of hand takes a lot of time because precision cannot be compromised. And this is how the press tool come in handy. And check again to make sure everything is all right. Next is the minute hand. And lastly, second hand. That's all done with the hands, so let's check how it works. And I think that's perfect if I'm not over exaggerated. Then I give it a good clean on the dial, making sure there's no dust and particle. Once done, we'll keep this aside and we'll finish off the case. I have polished the case and prepared new crystal for installation. For installation of crystal, I need the press tool. After checking and make sure there is no fault, then I give it a clean. Now comes to the installation of bezel. Now it's time to marry the case. That's absolutely gorgeous. Finish off with the movement ring and casing clamps. For the crown, I have to replace the new gasket, and of course I put some silicone grease. And I secure the winding stem with Loctite. Then I am wiping off the adhesive. And I put Mobius grease 9504 before installation. Also, back case gasket, I changed the new one. So we're almost done here, and last is the rotor, and then I can close the back case. Just a slight turn here to secure it. So that's all done here. I'll put the bracelet, and thank you for watching. And I hope to see you all again next video when passion and hobby collide. I'm Ned from Magical Views.